Hey guys, Mike Toy here, Bonsai Boise. So this is my tiger bark ficus, sort of a Penjing style I've been working on for about a year now. It started with just cuttings and stuck them in this pot and made a video on it. And posted it 1 year ago to the day. I just looked, ironically. So here I am 1 year later, and I'm going to take it out of this pot and put it into a bigger pot, and I'll explain a little bit of why and kind of what the vision is for this. So a couple problems that I've got with it currently is that the pot is too small. I want to give it more room to grow. So as you can see, this new pot gives it a lot more room to grow. And also I've sort of developed my idea for it a little bit. I want to stick with the Penjing idea, but also I want to make it a little more prehistoric looking. So got these old volcanic rocks that I'm going to be using to supplement the look. And also the soil that it's in I don't think is very good. Since they were cuttings, I don't think I used primo soil at the time. So I want to get it out of that nasty soil into some good bonsai soil. Rearrange the trees a little bit, and I've got these other random cuttings that I'm going to add as well. So come with me, we're going to take these guys apart and put them back together in good soil the right way. All right, so I've got this one big rock right in the middle, which if you were to go back and watch the video I made last year, that rock wasn't in there. I just sort of stuck it in since then. I thought it looked cool. It was unusual. It's just a different a different look altogether. Usually you'll see, temples in there, things like that, but I thought, let's make it really prehistoric looking. So I put it in there. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of some of the rocks, take a look in there. You can see that soil's very organic based. I'm surprised that the trees have been as happy as they have been. And they've done pretty good. I mean, I still stick cuttings in there once in a while. No rhyme or reason. I just see a gap and I'm like, stick a cutting right there. Yeah, they've done really good. I've given it a little trim here and there, but nothing crazy because part of the Penjing look is letting it grow a little wild. So I'm just going to get it out of this old pot here. Not sure what to expect. Comes out mostly in one chunk, which is nice. And I see it's mostly just due to the net that I had down there. A couple of things I'll point out. These tiger bark ficus, I really like them. I like them more than the Ficus benjaminas as far as the way that they look and the way their bark looks. So what I'm going to do here as far as my rough plan, and I emphasize rough because I don't have a solid game plan for this. Some projects you go into it and you have a blueprint and you know what you want to do, you know what you want it to look like, and you sort of come up with a method of how you're going to do it. Other projects are more on the creative side where you've got a rough idea of what you want to do and how you want to do it, but you're sort of just going to wing it, figure it out. This is one of those kind of things. Sort of winging it as I go. So taking apart all the trees, rinsing off all the old soil, dunking them in there, putting it in this little kind of holding tray. And get the new pot ready. This new pot, by the way, is thanks to my new friend that I got these. I got a handful of pots recently. There was this. In fact, I got 2 of these, and I got a handful of others. I'm not really even sure how many, maybe 20. So my new friend Abdullah out here in Boise, Idaho. Shout out to Abdullah. Thanks for the deals on the pots. I really have been liking them. I've used a couple of them so far, but this is the first one I've made a video on, so thank you. So now I'm going to position, or try to position, figure out how I want to do this, where I want to put this rock. You'll notice I only filled this pot up about halfway, maybe 2/3 with soil. And the reason for that, I am going to fill it up all the way ultimately, but I don't want to fill it up all the way first, because I know from experience that I'm not that great at these little forest Penjing style projects. It's tough for me because you get one situated and then you situate a different one and it kind of disturbs the first one, and then you got to rearrange it, and then a dozen more just like it, and it gets kind of hairy in there. So sort of my idea here is I'm just gonna fill it up little by little as I go, and I'm gonna use some of my anchor trees, I'll call it. So I've got maybe 3 or 4 larger ones in that bunch. I'm gonna start with those, and I'm gonna just sort of backfill the rest of it with the rest of the cuttings, kind of as I see fit as I go. I like this little crevice in this circular or this round looking rock. I thought it would be cool if I could stick a tree right in there to make it look like a tree just kind of grew up in the crack of a giant rock. That's what I'm gonna do. That volcanic rock in the front right, that small one there, that's a pretty cool looking little rock. Found that with my mom last spring when we were out looking at old abandoned buildings. So found some cool rocks along the way. I think she spotted that one. Thanks, Mom. So yeah, that tree just sort of fit nice and snug right in that little crevice. Didn't plan it or anything. It just sort of worked out that way. So I'm glad about that. I told myself I wasn't going to trim it much, and if so, I'll trim it at the end. But I like to break my own rules sometimes. So a little more about these tiger bark ficus. I'll say I've noticed that they do back bud a little bit better than the Ficus benjaminas. Whereas Ficus benjaminas, if you say trim all the leaves off of a branch, that branch will probably die. Not always, there are exceptions, but typically that's what you can expect. Tiger bark ficus, not so much. I don't like to push my luck with it, but they do back bud a little bit better. And as the bark matures, it doesn't have that smooth look like a Ficus benjamina. It's got a little more rough and almost striped like a tiger. Hence the name. They do not like cold, for anyone who's not familiar with them. They're a tropical tree, so I put them outside in the summer. They thrive in the sun. They like a lot of water, well-draining soil, which is another reason I'm doing this project, because the more organic the soil, the less it drains, the more moisture it holds. Bonsai soil tends to drain very well while retaining and holding some moisture for a certain period of time to avoid root rot. So, long story short, that's a little of what they like in their soil. Again, they like full sun. They do not like the cold. In fact, they will not tolerate frost at all. I don't think I have any exceptions to that rule. I've tried a couple times just to push it and see, are they a little tolerant? No, they're not. Not at all. So as I'm going along here, sort of putting these anchor trees in and giving it a little trim, I ultimately do want the height to be a little taller than one might expect. But the reason for that is that we've got these cool looking rocks in there and I want to be able to see them. And a forest group typically is a little bit taller, I think, than normal bonsai. a normal single trunk bonsai, kind of a rule of thumb is if you can reduce the height, it, by contrast, makes the trunk look bigger. Whereas the taller it is, it makes the trunk look smaller by contrast. So that's the idea with single trunk. Whereas a forest group, you want a little bit of height to it. You're not going for a big, thick trunk. Well, you want them to all grow sort of uniformly, but you want a balanced look. Now, that being said, since there's an exception to every single rule out there, this is the exception to that rule. I don't want a completely balanced, uniform look. So, since I'm going for this wild-looking forest Penjing style, my longer-term vision is I would like to have a few thick trunks, maybe a few mediums, and then a bunch of little small ones, just like a forest would be, with a bunch of little sprouts all over the place. So as I go along here in this video and afterward, I'll probably stick cuttings in there, here and there. I'm not in the refinement stage yet. I've still got a long way to go before I start to refine the look of it. So since it's still in development, it's okay to not really know what exactly you want to do yet. I think when in doubt with these, when I'm not 100% sure but I have a rough idea, sometimes it's good to just go, okay, well, I'll let you grow. I'll water you, but I'll just let you do your thing since I don't know what I'm doing with you yet. And then over time, you start to just figure it out. You kind of come up with a little bit of a plan. Or it comes up with one for you because it starts to develop its own character and kind of give you inspiration and ideas on what to do with it. That's the beauty of bonsai, is when you're not sure, you can just wait and the answer will open up. So I continue to fill in the gaps here. You can see it's starting to take a little bit of shape. Keeping these all in place was not as hard this time around as I've had in the past in some other projects. I've had other forest grouping projects that just seemed like it just spot me the whole way. Mostly due probably just to whatever silly technique I was trying or just lack of experience in it. This one wasn't too bad. The rocks helped quite a bit. As you can see, I've filling it out more and more. Taking more cutting and just sort of filling in the gap. So I'm going to give it a good watering now. That'll help hold them in place a little bit better so that I can get a better idea and maybe shift a couple things around here and there. I can already see a couple of areas that I need to trim up a little bit. I want it to be kind of a little bit of a dome shape, just a little. So there's one, you can see it off to the right there, that's just sort of sticking out like a sore thumb. That one off to the left side now. Really hoping to avoid too much trimming, but you gotta do it sometimes. I don't think I'm gonna repot this for quite a while. I mean, this pot is probably 3 or 4 times as deep as the pot that it came from. So it's got a long way to grow before I have to repot it, and that's kind of the idea. I've noticed that repotting trees too frequently, I know most websites out there will say to do it once a year, especially in the early years. I don't find that to be quite as beneficial unless your method is to work on the roots first, which is fine. I find giving it an extra year or two, there's sort of a sweet spot where almost like it knows when it's about to run out of room, and it kind of puts on this really strong growth spurt before that happens. So I don't see much or any benefit really to repotting it and trimming roots before it has hit its peak. Just to emphasize, while it's in the development stage. After that, it's a different story. But back to this. So it's starting to take some shape now, as you can see. It's, again, got a long way to go. It's kind of looking rough, like a whole bunch of cuttings yet again. But once it grows out after a few months, we'll be able to get a better idea of kind of how it's going to look. So yeah, it's nothing to write home about today, but we're putting it on its path and giving it a good start to a very promising future. I have high hopes for this one. So I appreciate everybody who watched. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and thanks to everyone out there who does. If you have any comments about this one, or questions, or anything that you can add or share about ficus, tiger bark ficus, or forest groupings or penjings, please share. Please leave some comments. I learn more from reading the comments in my own videos than I do from going out and searching myself. So I appreciate that. Here's the final spin. My tiger bark ficus, Penjing style, future bonsai. Here's to a promising future. Have a good night, everybody.